In 1934, two lost adventurers discovered that the Japanese had excavated an ancient mechanical iron bull in a vast desert and attempted to claim it for themselves. However, they accidentally triggered the internal switch, causing the mechanical iron bull to lose control and injure many workers. Meanwhile, in a newspaper office in Hong Kong, Xing, who was sleeping, was startled and shouted as if facing a great enemy. It turned out that he and his master, Jet, were working on the novel Adventure King. The scene just now was a plot in the novel. They were only 7 episodes away from completing it, but Jet's troubled mind due to his divorce from his wife, Monica, left him uninspired. That night, Monica invited Jet out again. She was a stockbroker, and both of them worked tirelessly day and night, unable to make time for each other, each believing the other was at fault. This time, Monica not only brought a client but also brought a lawyer and had prepared divorce papers, but Jet refused to sign them on the spot. After that, Jet became drunk every day and lost even more interest in his work. His apprentice, Xing, couldn't bear to stand idly by, so he and Charlie changed the content of the next episode. After the mechanical iron bull went out of control, the adventurous King Jet came galloping in. He not only used a rope to tie one of the bull's horns but also tied the other end of the rope tightly to a huge rock. This changed the direction of force on the mechanical iron bull, and many people were saved. Then they were summoned by General Long, who asked them to retrieve the legendary wordless scripture and scripture box. The scripture box was snatched from the llamas by the Salt Gang at the cost of many lives. The only clue now was a letter discovered by Japanese archaeologists, which contained the hiding place of the scripture box, but the letter was currently held at the Japanese consulate in Shanghai. Upon receiving the mission, the two immediately set off for Shanghai. In order to enter the consulate, they found White, the gang leader. With White's help, the two disguised themselves as women to infiltrate the consulate. Unexpectedly, not only did White get himself drunk, but he also inquired about the location of the power switch from the Japanese. This attracted the attention of the Japanese, and seeing that White was already unconscious, the two had no choice but to create a short circuit with ice to force the Japanese to shut down the main switch. Jet was responsible for stealing the letter, while Xing was responsible for covering their retreat. However, just as they got their hands on the item, a Japanese captain discovered them. After an amazing and exquisite fight, seeing that Jet's kung fu was unparalleled and that he couldn't win, the captain prepared to. In reality, Jet, dissatisfied with Monica for various reasons, portrayed her as a heartless woman in his writing. After escaping, embarrassed and angry, Monica decided to catch Jet and torture him to death to retrieve the stolen letter. Based on intelligence, Dragon General planned to take a train to Shanghai to meet Jet, so she ambushed him at the station. As soon as Dragon General got off the train, she, accompanied by a large number of assassins, brutally murdered him. Despite this, Jet's resentment persisted, and he planned to depict her as even more treacherous, claiming he had been tormented and exhausted by Monica's manipulation and submission over the past 2 years. Monica, who was delivering keys to him, overheard this and, in a fit of rage, berated him, calling him a coward who could only imagine disgusting women in his novels, which further strained their relationship. However, as soon as they parted ways, Jet heard someone yelling that the elevator malfunctioned. When he rushed downstairs, Monica was already unconscious. In his eagerness to save her, he forgot he couldn't drive, and ended up wrecking Xing's car without even leaving the parking lot. In the end, they were both rushed to the hospital. Despite everything, he kept yelling to save Monica first. Witnessing Jet's inability to let go of Monica, Xing immediately altered the content of the novel. Monica learned that the Japanese captain planned to release poison gas at the station to assassinate Dragon General and Jet. Ignoring the danger, she rushed to save Jet but fell into a coma due to poisoning. Jet, upon discovering this, carried her and fled into a locomotive, while the assassins switched tracks. Since Jet didn't know how to operate the train, it quickly sped into the Shanghai urban area. The inertia from the high-speed journey turned the steel behemoth into a wrecking ball, causing widespread destruction to the city's buildings. After facing life and death together, the two finally stopped hiding their true feelings and began to confide in each other. Xing initially planned to bring the computer to the hospital to take care of Jet while rekindling the romance between Jet and Monica. However, He was enraged to see Charlie, whom he secretly admired, holding Jet's hand while sleeping, which led to an argument. Eventually, they openly displayed their affection, inspiring Jet and prompting him to adapt the novel once again. Following the information from the letter, Jet and Xing arrived at this patriotic newspaper office. To infiltrate, they hired a group of thugs to pose as Japanese troublemakers and, through some scuffles, managed to be allowed in by the editor. They discovered that the editor was a descendant of the Salt Gang, and the scripture box was hidden inside the newspaper office, containing unimaginable power. When the box was opened by a rat, it mutated into a monster due to an unexpected surge of energy. Charlie, frightened, accidentally opened the box again, causing the monster to shatter into pieces. Meanwhile, another descendant of the Salt Gang, Colin, learned from a greedy artifact dealer that the scripture box he sought was hidden in the newspaper office. Soon, on a rainy day, Japanese assassins surrounded the newspaper office. To handle the crisis, Jet suggested everyone dress alike and run out together to confuse the enemies and make their escape. While the plan was executed, Colin led his men into the office. Unable to find the box, he confronted the editor and engaged in a fierce fight. Just as the editor was overpowered and collapsed, Jet rushed to a warehouse where Colin was located and engaged in a climactic battle. Jet ultimately subdued Colin with just a pen. Meanwhile, he learned from the editor that Xing had been captured by the Japanese. Jet stormed into the Japanese laboratory, eliminating the guards and rescuing Xing. However, the mysterious assassin in black emerged to block their path, forcing Jet to use the 9-section whip. Just as the editor and Charlie retrieved the scripture box from the rooftop, Colin suddenly appeared, along with Monica taking advantage of the chaos. In the midst of the fight, Colin, intrigued, opened the box, resulting in a dazzling flash of light transforming him into a grotesque monster with invincible power. Meanwhile, Monica, astonished by the scene, witnessed the artifact dealer secretly taking the scripture box. Upon Jet's arrival, seeing the editor's tragic death and Monica's unrepentant behavior, he immediately turned against her. In the hospital, upon waking up and realizing Jet had brought her there and was more concerned about her injuries than his own, Monica immediately wheeled herself to Jet's room. Seeing Jet asleep and reading the manuscript portraying her as vicious and cruel, she reconsidered their journey and amended the novel. The quest for the scripture box shifted from land to air. According to the artifact dealer's translation of Sanskrit, the true scripture was hidden in the Jiaguan Pass of the Great Wall. However, as they prepared to steal the treasure together, they discovered that her assassins had all turned out to be White's men. Taking refuge in the cockpit, found that the pilot was Jet and Xing, so she hastily explained that everything she did was for Jet's sake. However, Jet didn't believe her at all, so in a fit of rage, she prepared to detonate the plane and die with them. Not wanting to die, White immediately parachuted with his men, only to see Colin climbing on the outside of the plane. He broke into the cabin, not only disabling the scripture box and its timed bomb but also punching the artifact dealer into the sky. Since they were no match for him, and with Xing unable to fly the plane, the aircraft veered wildly in the sky, with them stumbling and unable to stand. 3 minutes later, the bomb exploded, splitting the plane in two, and they had no choice but to parachute to safety. When it was Jet and Monica's turn, there was only one parachute left. Without hesitation, Jet jumped out of the plane, and in a desperate moment, Monica quickly followed suit, parachuting towards Jet. Thus, the two used one parachute to embrace each other and float towards the ground. At the last moment of their lives, Monica regretted her actions, and eventually, they were caught by a large tree, narrowly escaping death. Afterwards, the four reunited and brought the scripture box to the Great Wall. Using archaeological experience and the location information provided by Monica, they found a mechanism under a stone brick. As soon as the scripture box was placed inside, the Great Wall trembled and collapsed, revealing the steps to a secret chamber. Upon entering the chamber, they found it filled with dry bones and 3 eternal flames, as well as a giant statue. On the statue was a scripture book, but before they could take it, Colin emerged once again. While Jet engaged him, Monica took the true scripture, activating the mechanism. Seeing Colin's incredible power, they were no match for him. Jet drew an extraordinary divine sword, capable of cutting through stone and iron. Thinking they could defeat Colin, they were shocked to find out he had an immortal body. Jet and Colin clashed, causing destruction around them, and the lives of everyone were in danger. In a desperate situation, they attempted to use the scripture box to shine light on Colin, but it backfired, and Monica was inadvertently hit by Jet and Xing went to rescue them, also facing peril, and were about to be engulfed in flames. Thinking quickly, Charlie used a wooden stick to separate everyone. Monica, fearing for their safety, embraced Colin and, at the last moment, opened the box in Jet's hand, shining light on herself and Colin. As a result, Colin shattered into pieces, while Monica disappeared without a trace. Seeing that they had obtained the scripture box and the scripture but lost their loved ones, Jet deeply regretted his actions. He and Xing became husband and wife, while Jet's soulmate was Monica, amidst the vast sea of people. With the conclusion of the Adventure King novel, Jet and Monica, having gone through so much together, finally understood and embraced each other, leaning on each other for support.